What did you learn from friends and family screenings / test screenings that possibly impacted the final release?
It's a tricky question because I sound arrogant. I mean, people really loved the movie. You know, we tested through the roof, and people who hadn't seen the show really got it, and people who had seen the show thought it was even better than they were hoping for. So it's tough to say that with a straight face, but that's the truth and the matter. So the only thing that that people had any issue with, which wasn't a serious issue, was they wanted more, and we ended up shooting some more stuff because of that. So that was it.
That's not a bad problem to have.
You know what? Again, it's like we pray people actually show up to the movie, but we know if they do, they're going to like it. And you know, we got our test score back, and the president of Warner Brothers handed me the sheet. And you know, usually you sit down and then you talk about it, how you can fix this, how you can do that. And he said, "Frame this because you're never going to see it again in your career." That's what he said. So my hand to God, that's a true statement. But that doesn't mean people are going to go. But if they do, they're going to like the movie.
I'm assuming, how much did you look at what fans are saying or what people were saying to you when you were in the writing process to say, I kind of need to touch on these things? Or is it sort of like, I can't look at what people are saying, I got to write this?
You know what, I'm a listener, and that's what my life has been. You know, I'm willing to hear what people's criticisms are, and I can agree with them or disagree with them. But I've looked at the message boards for the 8 years of the show, which started coming out, just to see them. So I've seen all your nasty comments. But I listened, and I took what I thought, and I did what I could. I also read, my favorite reviewer, who God willing likes the movie, this guy Owen Gleiberman at Entertainment Weekly. And he actually wrote a really interesting article about what he wanted to see in the Entourage movie, and I read it. And I analyzed it, and I thought it was smart, and I actually did that after the first draft of the script was done, and I think I've achieved most of what he was calling for, which I think was smart. And you know, I like all the seasons of the show. I'm not one who's like, oh, I didn't like it when Vince was dark, or I didn't like it when there was more relationships, but some people are, and I think you know, our most universally loved seasons are the earlier ones. So I try to go back to that feeling and try to get that classic, you know, Entourage feel from the get-go. So.
I hate asking this, but it's impossible not to. You have more cameos in this movie than like every movie in the history of Hollywood combined. It's amazing. Like who you got, all of that stuff. Is it a little weird that like a lot of people talk about the cameos? Was it, I guess, hard for you to figure out who you wanted? Was it a question of who's around in California when we're shooting?
It's honestly, every day was different. So I would be on the set, and Clay Matthews, I'd get a call from his agent. He's in town, he wants to be in the movie. Great, bring him down, I'll figure something out, you know? Or I chase Liam Neeson around for a few months and see if I can get in touch with him and call people at Warner Brothers and call Mark Wahlberg and say, you got a way to get Liam Neeson in the movie. So there's all sorts of different ways, and again, people keep saying there's all these cameos, but they're very organic to what the world is and what the show is. And the player probably has more cameos. And, you know, I mean, the player had a party scene where there were 60 movie stars. You were looking around, and by the way, they weren't even talking. I don't even remember exactly, but you'd see, like, you know, Jeff Goldblum would just be playing the piano. Like, he wouldn't even say anything or something. So this is a Hollywood environment. That's what the world is. It's, you know, if you were doing, you know, a show set in the NFL, you would have, you know, lots of NFL players. So it's true to the world, and we got some great people to come in who wanted to be part of it. So.
How long was your first cut versus what actually got released?
I mean, again, these are true stories, okay? But the script was 158 pages.
Okay. Wow.
A comedy script is usually 105 to 120 max. 120 people start going, this is way too long. So when I handed in the 158-page script, they said, this is crazy. And I said, listen, I'm just going to tell you, my experience with HBO when we started was your scripts are too long, your scripts are too long, and then we'd end up with 16-minute episodes, and people would start complaining it was too short. So I said, just trust me, let me do it, let me get it filmed, and we'll see what we're doing. So I went into the screening where I give my director's cut to the Warner Brothers executives, and I said, guys, I know this film still needs a lot of work, but right now the running time is 2 hours and 57 minutes. And they were like this. And they go, I'm kidding, it's 1 hour and 36 minutes. And
oh, I think you were serious for a second. I'm like, holy shit.
1 hour and 36 minutes, and then we added stuff. So my hand to God, there's not more than 4 minutes of film that was cut out of this movie. You know, it's pretty much verbatim what was on the page. Our first cut, which someone at Warner said it's the first They clapped. By the way, they all clapped and said this is the first movie in years we've seen that's closer to 90 minutes than 2 hours. So I think it's now running under 1:45, hour 45, maybe hour 42 or something like that. But there's very little that changed from the first cut that I handed in until the finished product, with the exception of the additional stuff that we shot.
For fans of Entourage, who will eventually own this on Blu-ray, what can they look forward to getting? On
Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Well, we'll do a commentary, hopefully with me and all the guys, and I may bring in some special guests for that. We got some... We've got...
You're going to include the 4 minutes of deleted scenes?
We'll include the 4 minutes of deleted scenes. I'm trying to get... I just did this... we did these 2 short films. One with Ari Gold and one with Kevin Dillon. I'm trying to get them to put that on. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. What else? There's some fun stuff. There's going to be an interview with my son from when he was like 6. He plays Ari's son. Not just random children in there, but he plays Ari's son, and it's really cute to see him 8 years ago. So, what else?
Do you ever feel any apprehension having him on set when Ari or when Jeremy does a crazy outburst, or when like earmuffs?
My son is he's always, since he was a little kid, which is how he ended up on the show. He's not an actor, let's say, but he would hang around, and everybody thought he was so funny. And I think Jeremy said he should play my son, and we just put him on. So he's probably been in 10 episodes, but he's not around at the cursing stuff. And like he's gonna be on the red carpet at the premiere, but he's not allowed to watch the movie. And he's 13 now, but he's still not gonna watch the movie, even though he's giving me a hard time about it. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about when you started writing this movie. From what you sat down to do to what people are seeing on screen, is it exactly what you sat down and started writing, or how much big twists happened in the writing process?
I wrote a first script, which I really liked, and I gave it to Steve Levinson, who's like my producer and partner on this. He hated it. He hated it. And I went to Mexico for a few days, and I was like, I've written 96 of these things. I don't know what I did wrong here. I'm very confused and whatever. And I really don't even know what happened, but I basically threw it in the garbage and started over. So then I would say the first draft of that next script was probably 70% of what it was. And then we came up with some really good stuff that's significant to the movie, and it's hard to actually imagine the movie without it. But there was some good changes in the script process.
I have to ask you, what was the plot line or the plot of the first script that you're like, that Steven said no?
I mean, I have to even remember. This is 2 years ago, but I think Vince was missing. Vince's his marriage. His marriage went south, and he was depressed about it. I think that was the real key to changing the whole tone of the movie. That they were amicable, and it wasn't this big dramatic thing. Because and he was right, by the way. I don't think watching Vince, in a romantic comedy where he's depressed over this loss of his girlfriend that we really didn't have much knowledge of. Alice Eve is amazing, and she's so beautiful, but their relationship didn't have much to it. It was kind of one of those Hollywood things. So I think that was probably the biggest key, that there was a lot of Vince pining over this girl. So,
well, I mean, as someone who watched the show, I think people want to see the 4 of them hanging out and not dealing with
exactly.
So I mean,
exactly. So it was the right move. Steve, Lev, whenever Lev told me the script worked, I had a much better feeling than it did. I'm not really like, I don't give it to him and go, you don't like it, screw you. I'm like, really? So I thought about it, and then so many things got added. I mean, it's amazing. And again, like I say, the script kept ballooning and ballooning. I'm friends with all the guys, and they kept calling me like, I don't have anything to do. And then eventually, somehow in this hour 40, there's 5 guys with real stories, So it's. I did not believe that was possible when I started. I think that's the problem. I thought I needed to focus on one story, and the guys all just had to chime in about that story. But this ended up working much better.
I know a lot of your cast are New York Giants fans. I am a New England Patriots fan. So for me, are you a Patriots or Giants? Or
I'm a Giants fan, but you know what? Brady has been great to us. Julian Edelman's in the movie, Gronkowski's in the movie, so I love the Patriots. I can't stand what's happening right now. But I've besides the New York Islanders at this point, I have sort of grown out of like being obsessed with my childhood teams, and now because I'm friends with a lot of these guys, I root for them to have success. So
I was going to say, I'm a big fan of Gronk. I think
He's the best.
He's literally the best.
Yeah.
How much was it crazy directing him, or
It was amazing, and I was so nervous. He comes on the set with Mark's friend brought him on the set, Henry Penzi, and he's like, "Yo, I didn't even know Rob was coming to the set." So he's like, "Rob and Julian are here. They'll do whatever you want." And I'm thinking, you saw the movie, right?
I did. Yeah.
So I'm like, I want Gronk to. But I was nervous to walk up to him. And I got Russell Wilson with me, who's a very good friend of mine, and Russell's looking at Gronk like, I need one of him on my team. And I go, I can't imagine if Russell got Gronk on his team what he could have done. But so I said, what's he willing to do? He said, he'll do anything. Just ask him. So I got to go over to him. And I'm like, I basically want to put you in a full body cast and have you partying around, like the story. And he said to me, he said, Doug, I want to tell you something. When I was 16 years old, I told my friends in high school that I'm going to be on Entourage. And they told me I was crazy. They were like, what are you, they wouldn't even say crazy. They were like, what are you talking about? How are you going to be on Entourage? Right. So when I hear things like that, it was so amazing. And Rob was great. Rob hung out all day. He was serving soup to the extras at the end of the day. And I'm like, Rob, you don't have to stay. He's like, I'm loving it. What are you talking about? So he's a very, very happy, good guy. And he's funny as hell in the movie,
Yeah.
It's big laughs.
What I think people forget or don't realize is that's literally him.
Yeah. He's just a happy to be their guy.
So you've been now converted and are now a diehard New England Patriots fan.
I'm not even going to say, of course I'm a Giant fan. Believe me, it was much tougher for me to go to Seattle. I flew with Steve Tisch on his plane to Seattle, where Russell Wilson had gotten me tickets, and I sat with Russell's mother. And I'm like, having to sort of root for the Giants, but also I want Russell to succeed. So I have bigger conflicts than that. But if the Patriots,
these are huge first world problems.
These are huge first world problems. But I don't hate the Patriots anymore at all. And I was glad to see that I wanted Seattle to win. I'm not going to lie, but I was glad to see that Brady proved to me that he's the best quarterback of all time by beating that defense the way he did in the fourth quarter.
I have to wrap with you, but I definitely want to ask about filming in L.A. Mm-hmm. And you filmed all over L.A. on the show. Mm-hmm. Was there something for the movie that you're like, we have to go there? Was there a location, or was it pretty much wherever we can get in?
No, there were a lot of places. I had to go. Little Door, which is a place that I've been going to for years. The house that we shot at is Madonna's old house. I didn't know it before, but when I looked for locations, it's a very difficult spot to get to up in the Hollywood Hills. Couldn't get any trucks up there, but I just said this is a place we got to be at. So.
Cool. And what's coming up for you next? I think you're doing some TV, something?
I have a couple of TV shows in development with HBO. I've got a movie about Harriet Tubman with Viola Davis and Steven Spielberg's company in development. I'm doing an animated show with Harvey Weinstein, and I'm supposed to do Bad Santa 2 in September. So.
I have to ask you a follow-up on that one real quick, and I apologize. What is the story with Bad Santa 2? I saw Bad Santa, the very first test screening, out in Pasadena, and lost my mind.
Yes.
That movie was mired in
Yeah.
Oh my! My friend Jeremy and I fell off our chairs laughing.
Yeah.
So fucking awesome. Yeah. What is this? What's the exact status?
Exact status is we're working on the script right now, and if we get it right, we'll shoot in September, October. Billy Bob is back and good to go, and that's the status.
You have to give me a little. What's the tease of? Are you talking like hard R? Are you talking?
Talking hopefully similar tone to the first one. That's the goal.
Any tease at all for what it could be?
Nothing. Nothing.
I really want that one.
Nothing.
I want something filthy. And
I do too, and Billy Bob wants to also. So.
I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
I really hope that one comes.